World Mental Health Day. That's a day to promote awareness and advocate to the end of the stigma surrounding mental health conditions. Our next guest is a clinical psychologist and assistant professor at NYU Langone Health, Dr. Thea Gallagher. Good morning. Hi. And welcome back to New York Living. It's great to see you in person this time around.
Yeah, great to be here.
So let's get right to it, because after the pandemic, there's a lot of people dealing with various degrees of anxiety. We're clearly seeing more people in that mode. What do we need to do here?
Yeah, well, I think we need to acknowledge that we are in this mental health crisis, and many people have been suffering for so long, never knew they could get help, and we never thought that they were worthy of getting help, didn't know the pathway to getting help. So I think it starts with acknowledgement that people are struggling, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and it's time to help people get connected with the resources that they need.
You know, I mean, just last month, the U.S. Task Force is saying everybody should actually be reviewed to see if they are dealing with it, because a lot of people are either embarrassed, they hide it. Where do we move forward, and how do we get a little more comfortable in analyzing ourselves and expressing that we are having maybe some anxiety issues?
Yeah, well, I think that was a huge initiative that came out to say, you know what, when you go to see your primary care, we should also be thinking of your mental health just like your physical health. Are you struggling with, you know, worrying, staying up, sleeplessness, things like that? So really trying to, the more that we can look at our physical and mental health along the same lines, the better we're going to be. And for some of us, it's easier to say, oh, I have like a sore arm, or, you know, it's easier to identify these physical problems, but to say, I'm really struggling with feeling down or feeling anxious is a lot more difficult. So I think it's, again, starting by acknowledging and then getting people connected to the resources that are available.
Yeah, I think sometimes people have the signs, but they're not aware, and they go, oh, this is just life. This is what you have to deal with.
Right.
So what would be some of the signs, people watching at home, to say, hey, maybe that is what's going on. That's why I'm feeling this way. It's anxiety. What would you look for?
I mean, I think it's always good to just start keeping track, like, of days that are good, maybe days that are bad, moments that are good, moments that are bad. Are you a little more irritable? Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you eating more? Are you eating less? Are you drinking more? Are you drinking less?
Right.
Are you finding that you're snapping at your toddler, or just that your behavior doesn't actually seem to be like what it usually is? Or maybe it's something you've been struggling with for a long time. So sometimes to monitor how you're feeling, also sometimes to ask the people that you love, like, have you noticed a change in me? Do you see anything that maybe concerns you? Because again, a lot of us soldier on even though we are struggling and suffering. So sometimes it's important to look for those changes that may have happened along the way.
Right. Talking about it is not a weakness, it's a strength in realizing you may be dealing with something like this. So what types of things in terms of treatment for anxiety, how would you move forward with that?
You know, again, I think it's maybe like talking to your loved ones, talking to the people in your support system, and saying, can you help me tackle this, this together? Can you help me, like, call my insurance company, or look online, or try to see what's available to me? Contact a local academic health center to see, what resources are available as far as therapy is concerned. But again, even at the level of talking to your primary care physician, they might know of resources as well. But sometimes having some support while you start to delve into getting an evaluation or getting connected with treatment, it can be really helpful to have that support.
So the balance in terms of anxiety treatment, I know sometimes there are people who don't want to medicate it all. They want to stay away from that. Other people, to them, it's almost an easier way of getting around it. How do you know where you fit in and what type of treatment works?
Yeah, you want to get evaluated by, a licensed professional, whether that's, a licensed social worker, licensed psychologist, or, a psychiatrist if you're looking for maybe a medication option. So it's really important to get a proper evaluation to see what you're struggling with, and they might be able to tell you, the level of severity of the, anxiety or depression that you might be experiencing.
Well, not to make light of it, so how do you deal with the anxiety of a Mets fan after what happened last
Sports anxiety is a whole thing.
Yeah, it is. Clearly it is, right?
Yeah,
it's another type of an issue. But real quick, so since the pandemic, I mean, it seems to me, just being out in the world, I feel like there's greater anxiety. I mean, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what happened during the pandemic, tons of changes, a lot more social isolation, real fear that us or our family members could get very ill or die. I mean, that really takes a toll on you after a while. So I think it's not shocking that we're feeling this way, but I think as we hear about new surges or things that are happening, it still is having an impact on our mental health, and so we need to address our mental health.
Right. Pay attention to the signals and the signs. Dr. Gallagher, great advice. Thanks very much. We'll see you guys soon as well, I'm sure. All right.